What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. We are continuing our series of team previews, and today we have the Washington Wizards up next. So, Trevon, we have the Washington Wizards. Last year, they finished towards the bottom of the league. They finished with a record of 35 and 47. They had a lot of changes this offseason, especially trading one of their star players and Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. They traded Porzingis to the Boston Celtics in a multi-team trade, and they have a lot of young talent that they acquired. So, Trevon, what are your thoughts on the Washington Wizards going into this upcoming season?
Yeah, so you basically mentioned the main thing. Obviously, losing Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis are two of the major pieces are going to be the main focus as far as the next step that the franchise is heading in. Obviously, those are two stars, but big pieces that will no longer be with your team. So now you're looking to somebody like Kyle Kuzma, who is proven that he can score the ball, but has never really been a true number one so far in his NBA career. This is year 5 for him. This is the first time that he'll be put in a number one role, assuming with the talent that they are left with, no longer having Bradley and Porzingis. Bradley has always been a consistent star for them. Porzingis has played his best basketball probably since being with the Dallas Mavericks. So this will be a new turning point for the Wizards, and Kyle Kuzma is the guy that you're going to look to as your best player. Last season, Kyle logged 64 games, which isn't terrible in today's NBA. He averaged a total of 21 points, and he did it fairly efficiently. He was 44, basically 45% from the field, shot 33 from the three-point, and he was doing that on a healthy about 18 attempts per game. That number will probably raise up with him being the main scorer. They also, like you did mention, have some other young talent on the team. They've had some draft picks that have not necessarily hit how they thought they would. Corey Kispert, who was drafted 2 years ago, he
Yeah.
averaged 11 points last year, which was his best since he's been in the league. And then you also have Johnny Davis, who has not really hit as far as a draft. So moving forward, the Wizards are going to have to be very smart on how they acquire or scout talent and bring it in along with Kyle Kuzma and what they do have. They acquired Kendrick Nunn last season in that Lakers trade. They drafted a fellow Frenchman, Victor Wembanyama. He's played with him, so he's used to big moments in games such as that. But this franchise is really going to be in a rebuilding state. Not too much to expect from them going into this next season. This would be a multi-year process, not really looking for big things for them. But this is a huge opportunity for a guy like Kyle Kuzma to really take that lead role and try to make a big step. The team last year, they were about middle of the pack in defense, which is a little surprising, but they were in the bottom third as far as offensive rating. They were number 21 out of 30 teams as far as their offense, and they were 17th out of 30 as far as their defense. So with losing Bradley Beal and Porzingis, I only expect that offensive rating to drop. Defense, who knows, with younger guys that don't have as such cachet as those guys are trying to take advantage of this opportunity to make an NBA team that needs players. This can be probably one of the more scrappy teams, but really just expecting them to be in that bottom part of the Eastern Conference once again, possibly lower than what they were this season. So not much to expect from them other than rebuilding.
Yeah, and that's really what I come away with it, Trevon. They have a lot of really young players, but the interesting thing is they have a lot of young players, but those young players have a lot of experience as well. You're talking about Jordan Poole, you're talking about Kyle Kuzma, even Tyus Jones. These players have all been in the playoffs and made deep runs in the playoffs with their respected teams before they came to the Wizards. So it's one of those rare situations or one of those more interesting situations where they have young talent, but that young talent also has some really good experience and a lot of high competitive games. Especially you talk about Kyle Kuzma, who's won a championship with the Lakers. Talk about Jordan Poole, who won a championship with the Golden State Warriors, and both of those players were pretty big contributors to those teams as well. And those two in particular, Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, are two of the players on that team that I'm looking to see how they handle being the guys on a team. How are you going to play? How are you going to prepare? How are you going to bring the team around you in order to help your team develop and become a winning team? I feel like Tyus Jones is going to play a big part in that too. He is one of the best point guards, I think, in the league. If he wasn't backing up Ja Morant back in Memphis, I believe he would be a starting point guard, and I expect him to be the starting point guard in Washington. So you have that backcourt with him and Jordan Poole, and also Kyle Kuzma at the 3 or the 4, whether they go small or whatever. But those three guys, I'm expecting to take that next step and be able to help them out. I do still think it's going to be a transition year, or developing players. They might have a chance at the play-in, but I would say probably 10th or ninth, possibly the eighth seed. But that's where I expect them to fall. One player that I am going to be looking out for is Patrick Baldwin Jr., who they got in that trade with Golden State. He played with Golden State last year, limited minutes most of the time, but he did get in and he showed some really good promise. He played pretty good in the summer league as well, and you could see the talent he has on that team. So he's one player that I'm going to be looking out for. You already mentioned Koulibaly. I hope that's how you say his name. Again, I'm bad with names, so I'm trying to get better at
Yeah.
that.
I
But
didn't even want to mention
he,
it 'cause I didn't want to butcher his name.
yeah, yeah, but he's a really young, promising prospect as well from like as you mentioned from France, and he's really long. He's athletic. He plays really good defense. He's a kind of a Swiss Army knife. He does a lot of really good things. Those are the players that I'm really looking out for. But I do think that they have a good team in terms of the younger teams. They also picked up Mike Muscala, who's a sharpshooter from the perimeter. He shot like 50% from the 3-point line in the postseason or something like that, I think, and like 39% from the 3-point line in the regular season. So they have a lot of really interesting pieces that are young, but I'm expecting them to make some good strides in development, and who knows, maybe they'll surprise some people.
Yeah, those are a lot of players that I did not mention. Jordan Poole obviously was one of the biggest stories or trades that did happen, obviously because of his history with the Warriors and the Draymond Green situation. Other guys like Tyus Jones, who has proven that he can run an offense or be that point guard, be that leader, that floor general on the court. We've seen it in a large sample size with Memphis and many absences of Ja Morant. He's just a guy that, went to Duke. He played, he was the MVP on that national championship team, I believe. He's a baller.
Oh no, he's definitely a baller though.
Think he was the
But he
most
was a big
outstanding
part of it.
player. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He's always been a guy that could belong, show that he belongs, prove that he belongs, and he could always play and he could always just be a leader out on the court. Then the other pieces that you mentioned, the young pieces that are unknown, probably Patrick Baldwin Jr. I remember the Warriors being very excited about him. He didn't get much opportunity for that Warriors because they're going through a lot of things, but he does have skill sets of an NBA player to stretch the floor at a pretty nice size. And they do have pieces, but I don't believe that it would be enough to make the playing team. I mean, the playing this year.
Fair point. No, I definitely understand that. I think they have a shot at it, but more than likely they'll be in the fighting for the ninth or the 10th spot, and whether they get it or not, that is to be seen. I'm expecting a team like the Orlando Magic to grab one of those spots this year, so that's already taken a extra spot that wasn't there last year, or that was there last year that won't be there this year. So it's going to be interesting, man. I'm just I'm just really interested to see Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. How are they going to develop, and especially Jordan Poole coming from the situation he had, feeling like he should have had more opportunities in Golden State, now getting those opportunities he was asking for with the Washington Wizards. And I believe he's going to have a really good opportunity to impact his team with the ball in his hands a lot more. Obviously, you have Tyus Jones, who's going to be the point guard there as well, and then also Kyle Kuzma. So they're going to figure that out, but it's going to be interesting to see how this team progresses throughout the season.